The Yemeni government and Houthis resume talks on prisoner exchange in Geneva. Massam project for demining announces dismantling of 880 landmines in a week. The Economic Foundation launches Ramadan exhibition in Ma'rib to support families. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is the English News with me, Shazab Al-Bay. Government delegation and Houthis are holding talks in Geneva for the implementation of the prisoner exchange agreement. The talks are chaired by the envoy of the Secretary General of the United Nations, with a participation from the International Committee of the Red Cross. This report has more details.
The United Nations Special Envoy for Yemen, Hans Grundberg, called on the representatives of the government and the Iran-backed Houthi rebels to hold serious negotiations as a new round of talks on prisoners exchange began in Geneva on Saturday. The closed-door negotiations, reportedly set to last 11 days, are being overseen by the United Nations and the International Committee of the Red Cross. The prisoner exchange are part of an agreement reached by the government and the rebels during talks in Stockholm in December 2018. Under that deal, the sides agreed to release all prisoners, detainees, missing persons, arbitrarily detained and forcibly disappeared persons, and those under house arrest. The ICRC noted that past meetings mediated by Grundberg's office had resulted in the release of prisoners on both sides. In 2020, more than 1,050 detainees were released and provided with transportation to their home country, following an agreement reached by the sides. The seventh round of talks on prisoners' releases comes almost a year after the Houthis said they had agreed to a swap that would see 1,400 rebels freed in exchange for 823 government fighters. The ICRC said it wasn't involved in the negotiations, and the Yemeni government outlined that the aim of the talks was to reach an understanding regarding the details of the prisoner exchange.
A number of human rights organizations called on the parties to the conflict in Yemen, meeting in Geneva to work hard to end the file of prisoners. SAM Organization for Rights and Freedoms, the Association of Mothers of Abductees, and the Accountability Organization for Human Rights called on all parties to the conflict to show full seriousness to end this humanitarian file that has been going on for years. The government forces in Taiz stopped a Houthi infiltration operation. In addition, a military source stated that 2 Houthi men were killed, while 5 others were injured while the infiltration attempt. Armed clashes erupted between tribal gunmen and tourist Houthi militia in Al Jawf, northeastern Yemen, after the militia sent a military campaign to besiege a village. A local source said the campaign came after gunmen from Bakhita tribe targeted a Houthi leader in revenge for the killing of one of the tribe's sons. Massam project for demining in Yemen announced it cleared 880 mines in the first week of March. In addition, according to statistics of the project, the numbers of mines cleared since the beginning of the project until March 10 has increased to more than 300,000 mines, unexploded ordnance and explosive devices.
تكلم عن مديرية عسيلان خاصة وعن معاناته من الألغام في هذه المديرية، ومن أكثر المواقف التي صابتني أني فقدت أحد أساتذتي في هذه الكلية بسبب الألغام. فقدناه بسبب الألغام. وفي ناس كثير تأثروا عندنا في منطقة عسيلان، في منهم يعني تحاصروا ما قدروا حتى يأخذوا قوتهم لمدة أسابيع بسبب الألغام. كأن هذا مشروع انتقام من الشعب بأكمله، ليس يعني حرب بين جيش، كأنها إبادة، حرب إبادة لليمن بشكل عام.
The Chief of Staff, Salir bin Aziz, said the war with the terrorist Houthi militia continues. In addition, he stressed that the Iranian-backed Houthi militia does not want the war to stop. He added that the armed forces are prepared to deal with any new escalation from the terrorist Houthi militia, and he pointed out that the Houthis was defeated on the Ma'rib fronts, stressing that the militia had nothing new to offer in the field.
رمضان مبارك.
With the coming of Ramadan, people are preparing for the holy month. However, some people are not able to ensure their daily meals, so the economic institution is holding a Ramadan market to help them. This report has more details.
Affected by the war. Prices constitute a concern that threatens the livelihood of the population here in Ma'rib. With the advent of the holy month of Ramadan, the prices of food supplies multiply towards the rise in the market swell with food products. The value of these products for today's pricing will not be the same tomorrow, especially since severe censorship is often absent and the deadly merchant law is present.
People are in severe need for Ramadan supplies. The prices are very high and everything is super expensive, while people's income is very low. People get their salaries 1 or 2 months late. Those who have families struggle a lot, especially that Yemeni people get married at a young age and they have kids early. A typical Yemeni family consists of 4, 5 or even 6 children. The salary cannot afford rent, education fees and food. The prices keep increasing day after day, making it extremely hard on citizens to buy their needs.
This year, the governmental efforts joined forces to open the work of the economic institution, including Ma'rib branch, by providing various food products at wholesale prices as a kind of elevating the lives of citizens and breaking the barrier of the increasing price that burdened people's lives. These efforts found a remarkable turnout from the residents of the city in order to buy their needs for the holy month of Ramadan. Abdul Majid, one of the displaced people in Ma'rib, is very optimistic about this new step, as he was able to buy a lot of household necessities at a time when it would have cost him a lot of money in the urban markets.
We would like to thank the Presidential Leadership Council for this big initiative in Ma'rib Governorate. As the prices are way above the citizens' ability, people cannot afford such prices amid the humanitarian crisis that the country is going through. However, here in the economic enterprise, the prices are reasonable and suitable for the Yemeni families.
During our current situation in Ma'rib, there are markets and merchants that sell goods with higher prices than normal. It's too much and people are not able to buy their daily necessities. Here, through this initiative, they provide goods with reasonable prices to citizens.
The residents of the governorate and the displaced people have suffered from the increasing prices and the absence of a supervisory role for years in the governorate, which made many people exclude many food products from their Ramadan meals and adapt with what corresponds to their monthly income. We hope that Ramadan 10th could restore hope again for these citizens.
In Aden, the Productive Families Association is preparing charity meals to help people who cannot afford the burdens of the daily lives. This report has more details.
The community begins to engage in humanitarian efforts as the sacred month of Ramadan draws near through the charitable dash set up within the framework of a bazaar for the needy families in the city of Aden. The People for People initiative is one of the societal initiatives that seeks to lend a helping hand and aid to needy families.
We target needy families and those who deserve the most help, since there is no one to support them. Before Ramadan, we make a charitable dish and the profits go to Ramadan breakfast meals that we distribute to the poor. Those small projects are sources of income for needy families.
Supporting needy families and working on Ramadan breakfast project through this charitable dash, the profits of which are to buy food supplies for a number of targeted families who are now suffering from the scourge of living conditions in the country, which has made them confined to the house and do not complain of poverty.
Local initiatives contribute to supporting poor families and contribute to developing the handcrafts and skills of the participants. As we see now, this charity bazaar develops their skills and breaks the barrier of shy and fear.
The idea of the charity bazaar organized by the youth of Aden is amazing and its timing is appropriate. As we saw in their announcement, the profits of the bazaar are to buy Ramadan food baskets for the needy families.
The establishment of such charitable endeavors offers opportunities to observe the difficulty of needy and disadvantaged families and labor to alleviate their suffering during the holy month of Ramadan.
Coming next in the news. An official says a 2,000-year ancient mummy is found discarded in Sana'a.
أبي مات بشارع 40 دحين أنا أشقى على أسرتي مع باقي اللي أنا أصرف عليهم كل شيء. أنا اسمي أنس رصيد سيف عمري 12 سنة. أنا أشتغل بورشة حديد من الساعة 7 للساعة 6. أحيانا أسرع أحيانا أقص أحيانا أرنق أحيانا أنقش أي حاجة أنا أعمل. لا الساعة لما تدين الساعة 6 أوقف. أنا وقفت الدراسة عشان ما في أحد يشقى على أسرتي. أدرس أخواني الباقي. من أنا 4 وأنا الخامس. أحلم إني أفتح ورشة أبي وأشقى على أسرتي وأندي لهم مصاري. وأدرس أخواتي الآخر الجامعات وأطبخوا أي شيء.
Welcome back. A human rights conference held at the Swiss Press Club in Geneva revealed that the Houthi militia had committed more than 1,500 violations against Yemeni journalists. They called on the international community to put more pressure on the Houthi militia to immediately release journalists sentenced to death. This report has more details.
The Yemeni Journalists Syndicate published a report in May stating that 50 Yemeni media members have been murdered since 2011. In 2020, 4 journalists were sentenced to death by the Houthi group in Sana'a. They are Abdul Khaliq Amran, Tawfiq al-Mansouri, Akram al-Hamidi and Harith Hamid. Houthis say these 4 worked as spies for foreign powers. It remains unknown when the Houthi ruling will be executed. Violations against the media in Yemen include kidnapping, murder, persecution, beating, imprisonment, denying salaries, confiscating properties, death threats, and shutting down media outlets. While all breaches against journalists are inhumane and unjustified, murder is the peak of brutality. Yemen ranked 169 on the Press Freedom Index in 2021. Independent journalists in Yemen feel like they are operating in a landmine field. This reality leaves them with limited options. Some continue their jobs, constantly fearing murder, kidnapping, or arrest. Others flee from the areas in which they feel at risk. They may continue their careers in the media or shift to another work.
The French embassy in Yemen visited the headquarters of CAG Bank in Aden. The embassy said the French economic delegation noted that it had received a very useful clarification on the economic and financial reality in Yemen. It held a series of meetings with the Deputy Minister of Finance and the assistants about the impact of the economic war by the Houthis. A historical mummy was found next to a rubbish dump in Sana'a. It was thrown by thieves and antiquities dealers after they destroyed it. This report has more details.
People in Yemen's Houthi-held capital of Sana'a discovered a 2,000-year-old mummified body in the garbage. The finding infuriated Yemenis, especially archaeologists who have long campaigned to safeguard and restore ancient artifacts throughout the country's long-running war. The General Organization of Antiquities and Museums located in Sana'a stated on Wednesday that it had recovered a mummy that had been abandoned in trash. It blamed tomb raiders and antique smugglers for exhuming the body, opening its stomach, and disposing of it. The organization said that the body had been sent to the National Museum in Sana'a for preservation, where specialists from the commission will cure the onset of bacterial decay and undertake research. Mummies have been discovered in the mountains of Sana'a, Mahwid, Damar, and Shibam. Ancient Yemenis were the third civilization, after the Egyptians and Chileans, to develop embalming procedures. The oldest mummy, which is now on display at the Sana'a University Museum, is believed to be 3,200 years old. Archaeologists, politicians, journalists, and the general public have demanded an end to the looting and smuggling of the country's antiquities. Abdullah Mohsen, a Yemeni researcher who tracks antiquity smuggling, said the mummified remains that were discovered might date back to Yemen's Old Kingdom 2,000 years ago. He stated that while it is natural to find ancient mummies in the mountain caves and rocky graves, the discovery of a mummified body at a Sana'a rubbish dump constitutes a calamity and is the height of a responsibility. Yemen, located on the southern tip of the Arabian Peninsula, has been embroiled in a civil war since 2014. And the country's population is enduring the world's worst humanitarian crisis according to the UN. As the war has raged on, some of the country's mummies have begun to rot amid electrical outages and a shortage of preservative materials, according to a 2017 Reuters report.
Here's a reminder of the main headlines. The Yemeni government and Houthis resume talks on prisoner exchange in Geneva. The SAM project for demining announces dismantling of 880 landmines in a week. The Economic Foundation launches Ramadan exhibition in Ma'rib to support families. This is the end of the news. It was Shazad Al-Ba'i. Thank you for watching.